Hey, welcome back to another episode of the She's Making an Impact podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ngom. Today, oh my goodness, you have a powerhouse guest on. We have Ukonwa Ojo. And I'm like, as I look at her bio, I'm like, oh my gosh. When I say powerhouse, I mean powerhouse. She's had a career over 26 years over multiple industries, including she was the Global Chief Marketing Officer at Amazon Prime Video and Studios, MAC Cosmetics. She served as brand president at CoverGirl, General Mills, and now she's the founder CEO of Zaya Ventures, dedicated to building and scaling businesses that champion underrepresented and marginalized communities. She basically at Amazon, she led a high-performing team to launch 8 of the top 10 shows in Prime Video's history, achieving its highest ever global customer subscription engagement, including replacing Netflix as the #1 US streamer. She's earned over 60 awards and honors, including Forbes' World's Most Influential CMO and Black Enterprise 25 Women Changing the World. She's a Henry Crown Fellow at the Aspen Institute, a founding member of the Black Executive CMO Alliance, and a member of the Executive Leadership Council and Fortune's Most Powerful Women. It's just really exciting to see how God is moving in her life. You're going to love her story and what she's doing now, and just the words of wisdom that you hear from her in terms of just marketing, hearing God's voice, pivoting, what that looks like, all of it. So I'm so excited for us to dive. Hey, Ukonwa, welcome to the show.
Hi, Rachel. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you. So let's jump in. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Lovely to meet everyone. My name is Ukonwa. I am an entrepreneur. I own Zaya Ventures, and what we do is we invest in spaces that have been ignored by the mainstream. And I have 2 businesses. One of them is Zaya, which is a Christian social network, which is a big area that we think the world has ignored. And the second is a luxury women's wear brand that I named after my mom. She passed away 12 years ago, and my sisters and I wanted to make sure that her legacy lived on. She was a designer. And so we started a brand in her name and honor. And so those are the 2 businesses that I run. And I am a wife and a mom and a sister and a friend and like all the things. And I'm really excited to be here.
All the things. Well, you have an impressive resume. So let's back up a little bit. Like where before you started Zaya?
Yeah. So before this, I'm a corporate executive turned entrepreneur. So before this, I was the global chief marketing officer for Amazon Prime Video. And I also ran the US business for Prime Video as well. So a lot of my team would handle all the trailers and posters and, all of the stuff that you would see to get people excited about our upcoming TV shows and movies. And before that, I was the global chief marketing officer for MAC Cosmetics, if you're a beauty girl. And before that, I used to run CoverGirl globally. So I spent a lot of time on the consumer side in beauty and fashion and entertainment. And now I am in tech and fashion, which is a lot of fun.
I was doing research on you and I was like looking at your Instagram and I was like, wait, is she at the premiere with Chris Pratt? I'm like, TJ. My son's named TJ, he's 11. I'm like, I think she knows Chris Pratt. Look.
Yep, he was our star in Tomorrow War, and that was a really, really big movie for us. He's such a great guy. Super genuine as he appears on social. And it was awesome for my team to work with him to drive word of mouth and excitement for the movie.
So fun. Yeah. Look to our listeners, look at her Instagram and you'll be like, what? Like this is how old are you?
Oh, no, not at all. I am 47 years old. I am
It's like
47.
you've lived like 10 different lives with all these like big companies and all these like cool things that you've done. And I'm like, wait, here she is with like CoverGirl and like Mass Cosmetics and at this movie premiere and like doing this over here. And I'm like, what? Amazing. No, it's just like super impressive the things that you've accomplished throughout your lifetime. It's so cool. Um, so let's talk like marketing, the marketing campaigns that you were running, because you were a huge part of Amazon Prime Video, like really taking off.
Yeah.
So what was the marketing like? Like what did that look like for you in terms of stepping into that role
Yeah.
and head of marketing? Like what were some of the strategies that you saw kind of work, and maybe what are some of the things that you saw that didn't work?
Oh, yeah, great question. So, yeah, I came in from Mac Cosmetics. I remember when I first got the call, I had just joined Mac actually. I'd been there for about 7 months when I first got the call, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to leave. Like, I just got here, you know? But then the more they talked to me about the role, I thought it would be so cool to be a part of the team that took, Prime Video from, at the time it was number two to number one, which at the time seemed like a really scary feat to accomplish because Netflix is just so ubiquitous. But I actually thought from a marketing perspective that would be really, really cool to do. And so I did accept the challenge, and I'm very proud to say that when I left Prime Video, we did surpass Netflix in subscriptions in the US for the first time. So it was like, yes, that was the reason why I joined, and I felt like I accomplished that, and it was, nice to move on to the next adventure. But I think the biggest thing for me when I joined was making sure that we really understood the difference between the customers that we needed to attract from where we were to where we needed to go. And the reality for us is, as a company, we really hadn't done enough to target underrepresented audiences. And so when we looked at the analytics and we looked at the data, like that was the biggest gap in the business. And so making sure that we were working with our content teams to have the movies and TV shows that would allow us to target some of those. And some of the families, some of the folks that we needed, we didn't have enough Black audiences, we didn't have enough Latino audiences, we didn't have enough audiences of like families with children. Like there was some kind of basic tentpole audiences that we didn't have. And part of that is, working on the marketing and figuring out how to talk to them and how to let them know that Prime was a relevant choice for them. But the other part was working in partnership with the content team that creates all the movies and the TV shows to say, as you're planning 3 to 5 years out, as you're planning, as you're looking for movies to buy, these are the customers that we don't currently have on the service. And if you bought movies or if you made movies and TV shows that, targeted these customers, will be more likely to bring them onto the service. And so that partnership between marketing and content was really, really critical. And in doing so, just little by little, we started the process of bringing a lot of those customers on board, bringing some of the young customers on board as we became more relevant in social media as a brand. Prime Video, I would say, was always on social, but we really stepped up the game when I joined to really make sure that we were relevant in that on that medium. And all of those things together, it was a lot of folks working together. Eventually, like bit by bit, kind of brick by brick, we built it to the service that it is now.
Amazing. Just to kind of like summarize for our listeners, data-driven marketing. So it's like you're looking at the data to see
Oh, for sure.
what are the gaps, and this is what we need. You're not just like guessing.
Yeah, it's so funny because a lot of people think marketing is like it's just like completely creative and it's just like the coolest, the coolest idea wins. And I think that's really important if it's done hand in hand with segmentation and with data. And so you look at all the segments of customers that exist in the marketplace, you look at who you have. And there are two ways to grow. Either you get the kinds of customers that you have to purchase more. So for us, like that's frequency. So either you increase the frequency of the people that you already have or people that look like the people you already have, or you need to bring new customers in. And so if you feel like you've maximized the frequency of the folks you already have, then you go, what are some new segments that I can bring into the fold? And do I have the right products? Do I have the right messaging? Do I have the right tactics to be able to bring those customers in? And if you don't, then you start the process of saying, okay, what product, what innovation, what stories, what communication is going to bring that customer in. That's when you start getting to the sexy stuff and the cool ideas and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, like really starting with, I say marketing is all about math and magic. And everybody likes to focus on the magic of it. And I think, and that makes sense, right? It appeals to us emotionally, but the math is equally as important.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So you've worked with these huge brands. What are some lessons that you've learned just from being a part of them?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned, having gone not only from brand to brand, but also from industry to industry, because like I said, I've worked in food, and I worked in sexual well-being, and I worked in fashion and food, and and beauty, and then in entertainment. And one of the things that it reminded me of is that the human being that's at the center of all of these decisions. Everybody likes to talk about the human being like they're a completely different person. But the reality is the same human being makes a lot of decisions at different times of their day. And so I, as a marketer, and how I trained the marketers on my team is to spend a lot of time really understanding the human being and how they make decisions. And if you understand the human being and how they make decisions, then it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. You understand how they make the decisions. And sometimes humans will lie to you. They'll tell you that they make decisions in a lot of rational ways, right? It's like, okay, I look at two things and, I buy the cheapest. But there are a lot of times when we look at two things that look exactly the same and we buy the more expensive. I think the luxury market is an example. You see a dupe and you see a luxury brand, and it's the exact same product, or it's like 95% there, but people will willingly pay 5 to 10 times more for the luxury brand. Well, why is that? Emotion is typically the difference between the two. And so really understanding the psychology of how humans make decisions. And then once you understand that, it's easy to then try to tap into that across a lot of different industries. So that's the biggest thing I learned. And I took that from industry to industry, and I found that to be, equally as successful. So if I had to step back, I would say that was the biggest thing.
Huge lesson. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that you're at Amazon, you decide to start your own thing. What happened? What did that look like?
Yeah. I wish it was that easy. It wasn't like one day I'm like at Amazon and the next day I'm like, I'm going to start my own thing. I think that I feel in a lot of ways that I have kind of stepped into a call that's on my life and has been on my life for a long time. So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's always been deep down inside. My father was an entrepreneur. My mother was an entrepreneur. So if anything, I kind of broke from the mold a little bit going the corporate career. And I got what they call kind of golden handcuffs. Like the more successful you are, the harder it is to walk away. And that just continued to happen. And there was something for me about turning 45 that I just went, hold on a minute. Like my life has just kind of flashed before me. What happened to all of those dreams that I had? Like, when am I going to do them? And who says that I'm going to be around forever? Like, will I regret if I never did them? So I would say that was part of it. The other part of it is like, God will nudge you and nudge you and nudge you and nudge you. And one day he'll just like hit you upside of the head and you'll be like, got it. I understand. It's like I'm nudging you, but you don't seem to like the gentle caresses. And so,
No time.
And so there are just moments in time when you're like, okay, this is more than a nudge. Like this really feels like this is the time and I need to do this. And I think for me, just the reality that if I got to the end of my life and I was looking back, and if for some reason something happened to me tomorrow or in 5 years from now or 10 years from now, from where I was to where I wanted to get to, I was like, would I regret, not doing these things that God is asking me to do? Like, do I want to get to the end of my life? And because I was trying to make more money or buy a bigger house or more cars or take more trips or whatever it is we do with excess money, would that be is that really a reason to not do what God was calling me to do? And the more I just spend time with him, I realized that the only KPI, key performance indicator for the business people, the only KPI that God cares about is obedience. And he doesn't care about all the other things. And so he's not going to care that I went from like CMO at Amazon to CEO of some firm. He's like, that's not what I asked you to do. So I don't care. And so I think I just had to submit my selfish ambition to his desire for my life and his purpose for my life at this time. And I think that was hard work. That was really, really hard. And I would like to say that that happened in one day, but it did not. It happened over months, maybe even years. And it was a very hard transition for me. But once I made the transition, then I was like, okay, I'm in it, let's go. But that transition was actually really hard. And there were a lot of little things and big things that over time just made it very clear that like this was the time. Yeah.
That's amazing. I know you don't know a lot about me, but I have kind of a similar story where I was running this company and we're like hitting $1 million in revenue for our first year. We're on track to 2.5x that. Our team is in place. And the Lord's like, I'm not in it, shut it down. And I'm like, I just hit our like huge goal. We're doing all the things. Like we're doing like what I thought God wanted me to do. And he's like, nope, shut it down. So like over the next year, shut everything down. And I'm like, all right, I'll be obedient. We're going to see where this takes us. But I think like you're going to see so much blessing come out of that obedience, and you're going to see so much fruitfulness come out of that, of stepping out of like, all right, I have the high powered career. I have all the money. I have all the things. What does it look like to lay that down, to step into something completely new territory? It's a little bit scary. Like you've been in the having a job role to now being the entrepreneur role, which is total different. Like I know you were in the high powered stuff, but it's very different role, both high powered, like driven personalities required, but it's different responsibilities and it looks like different things. So how has that transition been?
Oh my God, as fun as you think it would have been. I was like, okay, this is very different. I think the biggest thing is it's a huge lesson in humility. And I tell my friends all the time that entrepreneurship is taking your ego, putting it on a plate and eating it for lunch every single day. Yep. And that has been actually really good. But I've learned so many new skills along the way. I've met so many incredible people on this journey, and I've gotten so much closer to God in this journey. Because one of the things that's very clear is I can't do what he asked me to do without him. And I love that dependency, because in my career before, yes, I had the blessing of God on my life. I had the favor of God. I couldn't have achieved what I achieved in my career for sure without the favor of God. But I had a lot of other things to help. I had big teams, big budgets, huge corporations behind me, a title that makes people pay attention to you. Like you have all these other things and you have God, but you don't need God. And I feel like I am now at a point in my life where I have him and I need him. And it's an incredible place to be. It's an incredible place to be. And it sounds really like crazy and scary and whatever. But what it's done for my faith, what it's done for my relationship with him, like it doesn't even matter. Like I'm grateful for what's happened on the businesses and the progress that we've made. But to be honest, it doesn't matter because what I have gained in my relationship with him and my confidence in hearing his voice and following him and feeling like I'm doing what I was supposed to do. And at the end of my life, like I actually think I have a legitimate shot at hearing like, well done, my good and faithful servant. You know what I'm saying? Like that for me, at the end of the day is worth so much more. So yeah, it's been really good. It's very hard though, to be clear. It's definitely really, really hard, but I am so proud of the team and everything that we've accomplished in the time that we have. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
So you have like the two aspects of the company, right? It's the social
Yeah,
media and then the fashion.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
what?
but the clear priority, the fashion wasn't a desire to honor my mom and just make sure that the world never forgot who she was, who she is to me, to us.
Mhm.
And so yeah, we created Ada is her first name and Edith is her middle name. So that's literally all about making sure that, the world never forgets her. Zaya is my priority. Like that is where I spend a lot of my time. That is like in the spirit of making the main thing the main thing. Like that is the main thing. That is the call that I believe is on my life. That is what I believe I'm supposed to spend the next however much time God gives me in this life. Like that is what I'm supposed to spend the rest of my life working on. And yeah.
Can you explain what it is and what the vision is behind it?
Yeah, so I was reading my Bible one day, like every day, and I ran across John 17:20 to 23. And even though I'd been a Christian all my life, I had never read it before. And it was Jesus praying to his Father before he was crucified. And he basically said to his Father, this prayer is not just for me or my disciples, but for everyone who will ever believe in me. And so that included all of us. And he said, I wish they would be one, as you and I are one. And when they are, the world will know that you sent me and that you love them as much as you love me. And I had never read that before. And so for me, it became very clear cut because I was like, if the world doesn't know that he loves them, and the world doesn't know, my brain is very like logical. If the world doesn't know that he loves them and that, it's because we're not one. And so I started doing research to say, okay, like, but is it true though? Like, are we really not one? And it became very clear just looking at the data that Jesus and his 12 disciples had now splintered into 40 nations and rights. I know, it's crazy. And it's not that there's some different denominations and rights because I'm, African heritage, I'm American, like everybody has their different culture and how they want to praise God and how they want to worship God. And I totally get that. But the reality was there wasn't really a place where all of us then came back together. And it's so funny kind of going back and reading the letters to the early church. And you read Revelations, for example, and John is writing this letter to the seven churches. And there's a sense of unity, right? Like the church all has kind of a unified place. And from that place, God can speak to the entire church. And he says to all the seven churches, this is what God's saying to Smyrna. This is what's God, like he's basically talking about what God wants to say to the church. And then I'm looking at the church today and I was like, if you wanted to do that, like, how would you do that? Like, there is no place where all of us as one body come together. And so as God's thinking about like this next dispensation, it's really important for him that all his kids come together in one place. Why that's important to him, I don't know. So he didn't give me the whole staircase, right? He only gave me my role within it, which was build a place so that all my kids can be together in one place. And so that's the mantle that I got. Yeah. And so that's what I've spent the last couple of years with my team building. That's what's now on the App Store. And we know that it will evolve, but that is our obedience to that call to say, okay, we can't all come together physically, but we can definitely all come together using technology. And so we built a technology that with a mission of uniting all 2.6 billion Christians on one platform. So that's the job. That's what I'm working on. And it's a lot of fun. And it's called Zaya, Z-A-I-A, which means light because we are the light of the world. And it's on the App Store and the Google Play Store. So iPhone, Android, no matter what kind of phone you have, you're able to access it. And we're starting the job of like little by little inviting all Christians around the world, regardless of language, country, denomination, to all come together in one place. Yeah.
I love that you didn't see the whole staircase. You just saw the step and you're like, all right, I see
All
the
right.
thing in front of me. As I take this step, God will reveal more.
Exactly.
I downloaded the app and I was like playing around with it a little bit. And so as I'm like looking through here, and then I realized the Bible's in there too. So not only is it like a social place for people to gather, but you can actually go in there. And then I'm like, oh, I can read all the different translations of the Bible. And I'm like, that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's cool to have it like all in one spot. So congratulations on that. That's
Thank
just
you. Thank you.
exciting. What
Thank
are
you.
some of the lessons that you've learned just through launching this thing and creating it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is it took me a long time to start because I was like, where do I start? Like it just seemed so big and ambitious, and I wasn't totally sure how best to start. And it's funny, in the beginning, when God first asked me to do it, and I was kind of like one leg in, one leg out. I wasn't like totally committed. I was just like, okay, I'll work on it. And I was like doing this other thing, but like doing it on the side. And I was trying to find someone because I was like, oh, I know how God works. Like when he, whenever he built, the Ark of the Covenant and all that, like he had a blueprint before he actually started building anything. Like he's very organized. He's a God who knows the end from the beginning. So like he's a blueprint kind of God. And so I was like, okay, I need to make sure I work to figure out what the design of this is. Before we start coding anything, building anything, I want to spend a lot of time with God, really figuring out like what it is that he wants. And so I was going to look for, I needed a partner to help me in this. And it was really funny. I reached out, somebody recommended someone who would be great for this. And so I was like, okay, I need to do a blueprint on the technological blueprint of what this looks like. I need someone who can help me kind of draft that and what this looks like. And, they were like, oh, I kind of have a lot going on right now. I'm not available. And I was like, well, that sucks. Like I'm supposed to work on this. I think this is the person to do it. And it was so funny. One of, I think it was like November of 2020. I think it was November of 2020 or October, November of 2020. God basically gives me an ultimatum. And he's like, you either do this or you do that. But if you're not going to do it, I will take it from you and I will give it to somebody else to do. And I was like, oh, crap, like you're not messing around.
It needs to get done.
I was like, you're not messing around. Okay, cool. And so I decided to stop everything. And I was like, I will 100% focus on this. The funny thing is, as soon as I made that decision that I was going to do this, the Holy Spirit that said, reach back out to that same person and tell them that you're ready to work on this. And I was like, I did. They said that they were doing something else. And then I reached out to them and they're like, oh, funny, actually, I just left my job and I am now available. I can work on this full time. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. It basically took me not dilly-dallying with God, obeying him 100% and saying, this is what you asked me to do. I'm going to stop everything and I'm going to do this. And as soon as I decided to do that, then he opened the door. And to be honest, it was easy from then on. We did the blueprint very, very quickly. We found, the right team members to start building it and coding it and it all came together really, really quickly. And so from me, that was the biggest lesson is like, there is no such thing as partial obedience with God. It like infuriates him and he's very clear about that. He was very clear about that, at least with me. He was like, I will literally take this from you and I will give it to somebody else to do if you don't take this seriously. And I can say that he was totally right about that.
Yeah. Wow. What is your strategy for like gaining new users on the platform?
Yeah, I think there are two ways of doing it. One, opportunities to talk to folks who have access to people of God in a number of different places. It could be churches. So we've had the opportunity to go, for example, to a church and talk to the members of the church. So I had a pastor give me, I think it was like 5 or 10 minutes on the program to talk to. That was actually how we launched it, was in my home church. And my pastor gave me, 5 to 10 minutes, and I was able to talk about the vision, and basically everybody that was in church that day like downloaded, and I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And so that's a part of this, is literally not, and first of all, I don't have to be there. Anybody can take this or reach out to us. We can give you the deck, whatever you need. Take this to your church, to your prayer circle, to your cell group, to whatever group you have influence over, and share this with them. Everybody who's a part of the app has the opportunity to share it with other people. So we make it very easy for you to get a link right in the app and share it across all platforms with everyone that you know. And then we're also leveraging advertising. So part of it is organic, right? Through churches, cell groups, prayer circles, podcasts like today. And then we're also leveraging advertising to reach the people directly and just tell them what the vision is and give them the opportunity to be a part of it. Yeah.
What's something that you need to move forward? And I'll give you just the opportunity to share, because someone might be listening that's like, oh, I can help. And this is just share what you need and then how they can reach you.
So we need a couple things. The biggest thing we need is folks to help us spread the word. So either you give us the opportunity to come talk to your church, or you reach out to us and we give you the materials to talk to your church, and to get your church to be a part of the mission, to be a part of the vision, and also coming into the platform and being a part of the community, right? So you have the opportunity to create tribes. So your cell group. So I should probably take a step back. When you come into the app, the first thing you see is just the community of Christ, right? It has a feed, a visual feed, and a text feed, which is actually quite innovative, right? Because God talks to us visually and he talks to us in words. And so we wanted to make sure that we had two parallel feeds, so that if God just gave you a word, you don't have to find the best picture, the best video, like literally just type it out and tell the body of Christ what he told you. And so you have those two feeds there. We have the Bible, like you talked about, and then we also have an opportunity for you to connect with Christians in other parts of the world, or that are have a similar passion to you. But one of the areas that I'm particularly passionate about is a part of the app called Tribes, and we fashioned it after the 12 tribes of Israel. And it's basically, you come in and you find other people who have already set up a tribe for either a calling that God has in your life that's very similar to theirs. And so you guys can band together, and you can amplify the network of you guys working together. Or it can be a passion that God has given you, and you find other people who share that passion. The reason why I share the tribe specifically is it's an easy way for people to come into the app. So when you come in, if you already have a cell group, your cell group can be a tribe, because the tribes are either private or public. And so you can come in, and that is an automatic way to share it with other Christians, to say, hey, I have a cell group or a prayer circle or a women's group. You can set up a tribe for your women's group, immediately send out links to all of them, and then they can all join you there. And when they do, you have your own feed, you have your own space within the app to do whatever it is that God is asking you to do. And that can be private, just for your group, or you can open it up and other people who share that calling or share that passion can find it and join. And so in terms of how people can help, one, give us access to your church, or reach out to us and we will share the materials with you so that you can speak to your church or your prayer group or your cell group. Come into the app, form a tribe or join a tribe, and literally share it with every Christian you know. And we believe that if every Christian comes in and shares it with every Christian they know, and those Christians share it with every Christian they know, this can very quickly spread to all the Christians around the world. And so we're excited about that, but we know that we have our work cut out for us for sure. Definitely.
Where can we connect with you?
Yes, so you can definitely connect with me in the app. So Ukonwa Ojo, if you come into the Zaya app, I'm right there. And we actually just launched the ability for you to message people directly in the app. So you can message me in the app if you need anything. I'm also on all other social media apps as well. So LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm on all the other platforms as well. But if you come into the Zaya app, you can come into the app and message me directly there. And I would be so excited to partner with you to help us spread the word.
Amazing. Any other words of wisdom for us?
Oh my God. I don't know that I have any words of wisdom, but I think just for me, it's just been a journey in trusting God, and that His way is perfect and His way is not our ways. It's not our, His ways are not our ways. And just learning to just be lockstep with Him. That's what this has taught me. I don't know where it all ends. But like they talk about, like some people water, some people plant, some people harvest, some people. This is my role within it. And I feel like I'm passing the baton to the body of Christ to say, now you take it and help us spread it to the rest of the body. But I feel like that's a role that everybody else in the body is going to have. And this is a project that we're all doing together.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here on the show. I'm so excited